This is Project Bodybuilding at its finest. Inside Bodybuilding starts now.
And welcome everybody to a special edition of Inside Bodybuilding. I am your host, Matt Meinrod, and with me as always in the co-pilot seat, Taylor Normando. Taylor, we have a very exciting show. We have IFBB Pro Justin Compton with us. And as always, this show is presented by True Nutrition, Mutant, and Body Performance Solutions. Justin, welcome to the show.
How you guys doing?
Good, man.
Hey, man, we're doing excellent. We're really excited. You don't do a lot of interviews, so we're thrilled to have you on Project Bodybuilding. Before we're going to do a whole list of questions for you today, kind of go through the past year, you as a pro, just your whole bio and your whole story, and get everybody familiar with you that isn't already. But one question we want to hit on that's relevant to, this past season is you were qualified for the Olympia. Are you bummed or upset now that you saw how it all play out with Kai not doing it and Phil not coming in at his best? Are you upset that you didn't throw your name in the hat and really push for the title?
No, not at all. I mean, you could look at it from a couple of different perspectives. I mean, I might have been a few places higher, under those circumstances, but I'm not looking at it like that. Whenever I go to the Olympia, the reason I set out 2 years in a row is I want to make sure that when I make my debut there, that it's a memorable one and I make my mark. So, I felt like I needed more time, and I could have went and I probably could have placed, really respectively, but that's not my goal, was to just, say that I competed there or make top 8, top 6, top 5, whatever your number is. I want to go and I want people to really remember that appearance and do well with it. Hopefully it's going to be in the top 5. So I'm just kind of buying my time and waiting until that time is right. Wait until my body's ready for it.
So, Justin, you don't have a set, like, you're not saying, okay, I skipped this year, so next year I'm in. You're kind of just looking at your body and playing it by ear?
I think, I'm very confident that 2016, you're going to see me there, and I think it's going to be the best yet. So the last 2 years, I qualified at 26 and then again at 27. I feel like that's 2 extra years of maturity I have under me now. So I feel like, this upcoming year when I make my debut, that it'll be where I want to be.
Awesome.
Now let's rewind to this past year when you qualified. The only show you did was the Arnold Classic. I took a lot of heat online because on Facebook and on our forums on Project Bodybuilding, because everybody thinks I'm a fanboy, because I think you're, already at this point of your career, top 3, top 4 guy in the world. Do you think you were judged unfairly at the Arnold? Because a lot of people were knocking you that you had blurry abs, but shows are one from the back, and you nailed it from the back. Do you think you got an unfair shake in Columbus?
No, I don't really think that I had an unfair, judgment on that. But, a lot of people didn't really see the pictures from Australia, because I did the Australian Arnold right after the one in Columbus a week later. So, yeah, people did criticize me on my stomach being a little washed out in Columbus. But if you look at the pictures from the following weekend, the problem was pretty much solved. But nobody's really looking at that. But, I'm not trying to defend, make excuses as to what happens. I mean, I feel like, most bodybuilders at one point in their career have 1 or 2 shows that are a little bit off on. And it's a learning process. You learn your body, you learn what works, what don't. And I think I just straight up pushed my food a little bit too high for Columbus. It was more than I could handle. So, for Australia, it was just a quick fix, man. I ate literally probably half as much, going into the final 3 or 4 days. I was about 4 pounds lighter on stage, but I feel like that's the best I ever looked. So, I kind of learned my lesson. I take notes on every show that I do to kind of figure out what works and what don't. So I feel like, it's just going to make me a better bodybuilder in the future.
Oh, so it was definitely an issue with the carving up type process of the last few minutes. It wasn't a prep issue in general.
Yes, 100%. That was, most people are going to go against it and say that it was something else or whatever. But, that's why I don't really address the issue to anyone, because that's until I'm able to get back on stage to actually show it and say, hey guys, here it is, what now? Yeah. People's going to talk. So I'm just going to let them talk, and, I'll show them what's up in 2016.
Good call.
What did you weigh on stage in the Arnold Columbus?
It was 252.5 or something like that. So basically 253.
And then you came down 4 pounds for Australia?
Yeah, I was between 248, 249.
And how's your off season been since then? Have you put on a substantial amount of size? What are you walking around at right now?
I'm walking around about 290 right now. This is safe to say this is clearly the biggest that I've ever been, the best package I've ever had for an off season. But, I haven't really, I don't do like, it's called the bod pod where you test your body fat and all that.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is. Yeah. So I just go with the scale and I go with what I'm seeing. And I feel like I put on a significant amount of muscle in the right places, so to say. So, I haven't added like 15 pounds of muscle overall, nothing crazy like that. But I feel like by filling out the right areas, it's going to look like 15 pounds instead.
What areas have you noticed that came up the most?
A lot of things that people will see this year is probably my lower back, my hamstring, and my glute area is going to be significantly improved because this is not something I've really talked about because, again, I'm not one to make excuses as to why something did or did not happen. But basically, my 2014 off season and 90% of my 2015 Arnold prep, I really wasn't able to do back squats, no deadlifts, no stiff legs. I was dealing with a little bit of an issue. It was like a tweak in my hip, and it was just more or less me being stubborn and just not sitting down and resting it because once I sat, just took a little bit of time off of it, it healed 100%. But like when you're in prep and, you got one goal in mind, thinking, oh man, I got to sit 3 weeks off or 2 weeks off. I just couldn't mentally do it. So the problem just kind of nagged. And I feel like, that makes a big difference. You look at some of the successors of our sport with Dorian, Haney, Ronnie, Jay, all these guys, they lifted really, really heavy. And those are like 2 or 3 of the core lifts that I wasn't able to complete. So I feel like by being able to crank 600 pounds plus on a weekly basis on those lifts, you're going to see a significant difference in my lower body this year.
Nice.
And how are you? Are you feeling up to speed now? 100%.
Do what? I'm sorry.
Are you feeling 100%? Like, how long did it take for that hip injury to subside?
Oh, I'm 100% now. It was literally one of those things that most guys, they said, all bodybuilders, we're all stubborn and hard-headed. The last thing we want to hear is, take a little bit of time off. And there was nothing wrong neurologically, nothing wrong muscularly. It was just like I kind of gets to a tendonitis thing, and I really just wasn't giving it any rest at all. I wasn't letting up on it.
So you talked a little bit about 2016 already. What are you tentatively now planning? I assume the Arnold Classic again. Are you going to any other shows on the docket between the Arnold and the Olympia?
Definitely the Arnold for sure. And I've talked to Tony Doherty where I'm probably going to go to Australia. Again, I really enjoyed this show. It was put on really well last year. Tony does a good job. So that's probably on the agenda. And this year, I don't think a lot of people are probably aware of it yet, but Kevin Levrone has actually put it on. It's the week before Columbus. I know a lot of people would be sketchy about hitting a show the week before the Arnold, but, I've got, with Hani in my corner on things and, everyone, the people around me, my team and stuff, I'm going to run everything past them. I'm sure that this would be a good decision, but I'm considering hitting that show and just flying directly from Poland straight into Columbus and going into the Arnold Classic.
First I ever hear of it. I didn't know.
Yeah, if you go to Kevin's Instagram or his Facebook, he's got the flyers out for it. So it's official. It's going to be on the calendar. It's going to be somewhere in Poland. I've never been there before, so honestly, I can't tell you where exactly it's at.
Yeah. Nice.
Here's a question I got for you because it's been burning on me since you signed with Evogen. How much does Hani actually stick his nose into your prep? He's a prep guy, for several athletes, but you work with Matt Jansen. So how does that dynamic work where does Hani stay out of it or does he try to blend in?
Can you guys hear me just fine? Because
Matt, you dropped out a little bit.
Question, but I didn't get it all.
Yeah. Let me reiterate it for you. Ever since you've been with Evogen, I've always been curious because you've been working with Matt Jansen, but how much does Hani try to stick his nose into your prep? Is he in there a lot or is he back off and just play a whole different role with you?
This is kind of a thing where a lot of people, I don't really address the issue that much. When people ask me, they get confused about the relationship, between everyone here and what's actually going on. Like Hani, if I have a question for him, I'll call him. He answers. It's quick. It's in and out. He's always been there for me for whatever I need, whether it be training, nutrition, supplements, whatever. As far as anyone actually coaching me, leading into the Arnold this year, Matt did all my videos, and he's always been there for me as well. Me and him train together. He's one of my best friends. He lives about 20 20, 30 minutes from me right now. So, I mean, we did most of our training together. So a lot of people think that he prepped me for the Arnold, but, you know, between him and Hani and a couple of my friends, it was kind of like I feel like we all kind of work together as a team rather than just one person taking control. And I still feel like it's kind of that way as well. Like, you know, I still feel like, you know, I don't really say that I have a coach because I still have a say in what I do. Like, you know, I kind of make the final call on things, but I'm not one of these hard-headed guys who can't seem to take advice off someone else. If someone's going to put something out there for me that's useful, I'm definitely willing to listen to it, and I'm definitely willing to try it.
At this stage, how much do you even need a coach? I mean, I feel like you're one of the more cerebral guys.
I think having a second eye is always good. You know, whether it be someone who literally tells you, you know, gram for gram what to eat, you know, ounce for ounce, whatever, or whether it's just somebody to say, hey, you know, you need to tighten up a little bit more, or just whatever the case might be. You know, I think having the second eye is always good because, you know, you're judging yourself. You're going to be your own worst critic. So, you know, I guess that doesn't go well with some of the guys. Some guys show up 6 weeks out from the show, but
yeah,
and I guess they think they're ready. But, you know, some people, I feel like I'm one of those people, like, you know, giving me a little reassurance. Sometimes it's like, you know, a confidence booster to make sure that I'm confident in what, like, the plan that I'm putting together is what it needs to be. You know, I don't want to second guess things.
For sure. When you were getting started, did you work with any sort of notable coaches or anything like that? Or have you always kind of had that mentality? No,
honestly, man, I can't say that I've done everything on my own. I mean, I'll never take credit to that. When I first started out I think it was 2000. I did my first 4 or 5 shows as a teenager, all by myself. I learned everything I knew off Bodybuilding.com. You know, any articles I could get my hands on, I did all that. And I think I won like 4 or 5 team titles. My last show as a teenager, I worked, Jason Theobald helped me for like the final 2 weeks when I was up with him.
Prep, yeah.
Yeah. And then I didn't compete for a few years. In 2010, I came back at 21 and I won the Kentucky Muscle. And I did that prep under Shelby Starnes. Okay. So Shelby taught me a lot about my body. And honestly, the one thing Shelby taught me was how to realize I'm in shape or I'm not in shape, because I never really had striated glutes as a teenager. You know, Shelby, I just thought I was one of those guys who genetically will never have it. I'll never be in that kind of condition. And Shelby taught me like a new level of, I guess what you would say, pain, you know, to really suffer and not really, I don't like to use the term suffer, because if you're truly suffering and you hate it that much, you shouldn't be doing this. But, you know, Shelby taught me a new level of discipline to get me to that level of conditioning.
For sure.
In 2010, you know, I like to kind of expand my knowledge. So this was like nothing personal against Shelby at all. I just wanted to learn from a new coach, and I switched over to Factory in 2011 when I did junior nationals. And they do have 2 completely different philosophies on everything about bodybuilding. I mean, you know, Fact took everything I knew and kind of threw it out the window, and it clearly worked for me. I showed up bigger and heavier. Now, to say I wouldn't have done the same with Shelby, there's a good possibility I would have done the same. But I just, you know, it expanded my knowledge, and it kind of let me play with my body and learn some things that, you know, I would or would not have known otherwise.
Yeah, when I asked that, I knew that I've talked to Shelby before, and he did mention that he worked with you. He didn't say it was for a specific show, but he said it was a sort of back in your past. And in one quote, he said is that pretty much anything he threw at you kind of seemed to work. He said you definitely had to work you hard, but your body kind of just everything kind of worked.
Yeah, it was kind of like that. I mean, I think he definitely had a very good strategy in going into it.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, that's why I said, had I continued working with Shelby, would I have still been as good? Yeah, there's a good possibility, because I think, you know, this was the first time me and him ever worked together, and he did have my carbs very low, but I only gave him 10 weeks. You know, I came to him at 10 weeks out, and I was soft. Hey, get me in shape. I want to do the show. So, you know, he immediately pulled the carbs down. I think once he realized, you know, how sensitive or not how unsensitive, so to say, that I was, I think, you know, coming up for the following year, we probably would have made, you know, very significant gains with him. But, you know, I just wanted to try something new and go somewhere else and, you know, kind of expand my own knowledge.
For sure.
But yeah, Shelby, he took Cammy really good. He's actually one of the guys that, and this is no disrespect to anyone else, usually every coach, every friend I've ever had, you know, you'll always get a response within 24 hours. Like, you're working with a coach and you don't get a response within 24 hours, and you're in prep and you don't get that response, and you might need to look into a new coach. But, you know, Shelby's one of those guys that anything I had to say to him, I typically got a response back within 2 hours, unless he was training or sleeping.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard he's pretty much a ninja. And he's on that thing all the day. So, were you always as like when you started doing things your own? I've just from some threads on MD and stuff like that. You're very, very, very calculated in your diet. Were you since day one? Did you always sort of track everything, or is that something you sort of grew to learn?
Yeah, I actually have I'm going to dig these out. Just to go back and look at them one day. I've got some old files back when I was a teenager competing. I used to basically log, use Excel charts for my diets back then too. I mean, a lot of guys they don't count their calories or whatever. And I'm not saying that this is like the holy grail, counting your calories, your macros and all that. But for me, it's more or less a peace of mind. It's like it kind of keeps me mentally, keeps my head on straight to know what I'm doing and to keep things down to a T.
Yeah. Same with training?
Same with training. I mean, I don't log every single workout, but I do have a lot of programs that I've actually put together on my computer that I have steadily monitored my progress and, basically log the workouts one for one for, 6 months at a time and kind of seeing how my body was responding to it. Typically I have a plan before I go into the gym every day. For
sure. Did you, what kind of training you generally are a higher volume guy? Did you ever experiment with the lower volume or anything like that? And what sort of did
Yeah, we actually did a little bit this off season. And Matt actually had talked me into it. I was totally against it, like 100%, because I've always worked with high volume and it's always worked for me. And I assumed, the low volume, I was like, man, this is not going to work. I even told him, I almost went against him on it, and he kind of convinced me into doing it. We actually kind of tweaked it a little bit. I mean, there was still more volume than a typical DC style workout, but we kind of implemented some things around the heavy DC style training, just the heavy compound movements. And I was surprised at the fact that I was still able, even in like a calorie deficit at certain times, I was still able to progressively get stronger on a lot of the lifts.
What gives you so much confidence in Jansen? I didn't have a lot of experience. What about him gives you that, that confidence that he knows what he's talking about?
I mean, I wouldn't say that it's more experience, but like, with me and him, it's kind of a little bit different relationship than it would be with, anyone else online. The fact, I talk to him one-on-one, we see each other, and it's like whenever I run my ideas past him and he runs them past me. It's like when we first started becoming friends, there's one of the things that we kind of clicked. We agreed on most things, and that kind of, because we were on the same page with things, I kind of felt like, like we would agree on most stuff. And I think that kind of built the trust factor there.
Nice. How did you?
A lot of coaches putting stuff out there that I just literally, I just laughed at it. I'm like, this is nothing more than a sales tactic.
For sure.
Hold on, like fish thinning the skin.
Yeah, we actually addressed that. Like me and Hani addressed that in one of my old videos. People think that. People still think that, I told him, I was like, dude, we got to address this because people really think they can eat fish and it thins your skin. And we both just laugh at it when people do that. I mean, technically it digests much faster. So in my opinion, it can kind of speed up your metabolic rate. So therefore helping you increase fat burning. But as far as, if you keep your calories the same and just swap from chicken to fish, I mean, you're not going to get shredded by any means.
Your skin isn't going to evaporate is what you're getting at. I think I remember.
Yeah, you're not going to hold any more or any less water or, be any more shredded with fish in. I mean, I think fish helps with digestion, so it's essentially speeds up your metabolism, for me anyways.
Yeah, and it's one way to make sure that your protein has zero fat in it, right? Because some guys are using chicken breast that has a few grams of fat, so your calories are going to drop a little bit if you just do it like that, right?
I don't know. I mean, with chicken, I always trimmed off my chicken. Like, I hate eating chicken fat, so I trim every bit of it. So realistically, I'm probably only getting at very maximum 2 grams of fat from any piece of chicken I eat. I don't look at it like that, but for example, the reason I like to do fish, especially in prep, is if you were to give me 4 chicken meals a day at 8 ounces a piece, and then all of a sudden you switch all 4 of them to fish, my appetite, my hunger is going to increase significantly after a couple of days of that.
Yeah. For sure.
The chicken just kind of sits on me more. I mean, that could be a personal preference. I'm not saying that would be the same for everyone. And it even increases more with beef. If you gave me 4 beef meals a day, I wouldn't be hungry at all.
Yeah.
How much do you cheat on your diet? Are you pretty 100% strict, or in the off season, since you've been on it for 7 or 8 months now, do you kind of up to you?
I don't do anything. I don't really consider. for me, I consider it to be more of a scheduled refeed, or, you know, if you want to call it a cheat meal, technically, yes, it is a cheat meal. But like, to me, cheating on your diet is eating something when you're not supposed to.
Okay.
So I don't ever eat anything when I feel like I'm not supposed to. I eat for a purpose, even though when I do eat for that purpose, I incorporate pleasure into it. But I don't just look at, you know, a box of Oreos and be like, shit, man, I'm hungry. I got to have some of these. You know, like, I don't ever do that kind of stuff.
How do you approach the refeeds and stuff in general? Do you have sort of like a once a week idea, or do you wait till your body sort of yells at you?
I typically, I was always the guy, like, if you had talked to me 2 years ago, like, I've went probably 6 months and not had any cheat food, nothing outside the regular diet food at all.
Wow.
You know, lately, you know, I've been kind of enjoying life a little bit more. So whenever I have a cheat meal, I try to incorporate around, like, you know, some type of social event, whether it be family, whether it be friends, or, you know, whatever I'm doing. I want it to be kind of something more than just the food. So it's like I get to enjoy life a little bit, and I get the food, I get the cheat meal. So it's kind of like a win-win situation for me. Kind of like one of those things where you got to find your middle ground of happiness with it.
Yeah. And that way you avoid showing up at a family event and having to ignore the food. You kind of kill two birds with one stone, right?
Yeah, typically, you know, people have events and stuff on weekends, and I always try to make sure that my cheat meals fall on a Friday or a Saturday. So, you know, if I'm doing once a week, now if I need to, like, you know, for example, in the middle of the week, like, if I need more food, we'll put in more food if it's needed. But otherwise, you know, I try to just keep it to one a week and, you know, do it on the weekends and enjoy it with the people around me.
At this point in your career, because I look at you as a veteran because I have you, you know, highly ranked amongst the top pros, but you're still a relatively new pro. At this point in your career, is bodybuilding your full-time job? Do other things?
Sorry, you broke up just again on that.
He was just asking if, I think you cut out right when you asked if bodybuilding is a full-time job or if you have to do other stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Oh, okay.
I mean, yeah, at this point, I look at you as this old veteran pro, but you're really not. You're still in your mid-20s. Are you doing bodybuilding full-time, or do you have to do other things to make ends meet?
No, bodybuilding is full-time for me right now, and I hope to be able to make, you know, an actual lifetime career out of this. You know, so, you know, once I'm of age, you know, that I'm not going to be competing anymore, you know, I still want to be actively involved in the sport, whether it be, you know, through nutrition stores, maybe owning my own company someday, you know, down the road, looking way down the road on that. Because, I mean, I know that owning your own company is definitely a really big headache, even though it's a great outlet, but I know that it's more than I would want to take on anywhere in the near future. But, you know, also after I retire and I have more free time on my hands, you know, I could possibly go into prepping people just because I enjoy helping other people out and kind of watching the progress. I would probably be very selective on who I help because I like people. I mean, I've prepped people in the past, and now I just simply don't have the time for it. But when I prep people, I hated seeing certain people, you know, you're going to pay me the money and everything. I want to see you do what I tell you to do. So, like, I want people that's kind of thinks on the same level as I do. If I tell you to do this, I expect you to do exactly that way. So if I ever do go into that route, you know, I'm going to be very selective. But, I mean, right now, bodybuilding full time with, you know, appearances, you know, seminars, shows, endorsements. That's what I'm doing at the moment. So we'll kind of see where things go over the course of the next 5 to 10 years.
How much are you on the road every month on an average month?
It really varies. I've had the last 2 or 3 months very easy. I haven't really done a lot of traveling, and I'm very thankful for that. You know, I've been able to spend some time at home and just enjoy that life. But in the spring, I did a lot of traveling. It was sometimes, you know, all 4 weekends of the month. You know, I really didn't spend a lot of time at home. I mean, overall, it kind of balances out. You know, certain parts of the year is busier than others. And, you know, I talked to Hani, it's been a few weeks ago. We had talked about doing some stuff in the spring overseas, you know, some tours like in Kuwait. And he mentioned a couple other places as well. I know he's over there right now with Jeremy with, they have some type of big men's physique event this weekend. But, you know, we're going to do some of that kind of stuff. And I'm actually looking forward to it. I used to absolutely hate traveling. I still don't travel well. The airports really seem to just love me when I walk in there. But that's another story for another day. I think once I get to where I'm going, I enjoy meeting new people and just seeing new things. And this bodybuilding kind of gives me an opportunity to see the world that otherwise I would have never probably had a chance to see working any other job.
Blackstone Labs is bodybuilding's leading source for hardcore legal supplements and the makers of Angel Dust, Ostapure, Cobra 6 Extreme, Apex Male, and over a dozen other products with cutting-edge ingredients that outlast and outshine the competition every time. Formerly the maker of the industry standard in pro hormones, Blackstone Labs has not fallen. In fact, after the dust has settled on gray area supplementation, Blackstone shines brighter and stronger than ever before. Visit blackstonelabs.com or click on the banners throughout Project Bodybuilding and experience bodybuilding science at its finest. That's blackstonelabs.com, the hardcore holy grail of bodybuilding supplements.
Hey guys, it's Matt Meinrod from All Bull Radio and Projectbodybuilding.com. I want to encourage you guys to check out a huge supporter of Projectbodybuilding.com. I'm talking about Mutant. Visit their website at iammutant.com. It's iammutant.com. If you like Ron Partlow, if you like Canada, if you like poutine, if you like t-shirts and supplements and badass videos, check out iammutant.com. Do it today. They support Project Bodybuilding. They make podcasts available to all of you and make the site tick. It's iammutant.com. Support them. You're supporting us. iammutant.com.
Which one of these are you? The gullible, uninformed gym goer who gets hypnotized by $12,000 supplement ads with flashy made-up scientific terms created by a sales and marketing team? Or are you a knowledgeable, advanced athlete, bodybuilder, powerlifter, or fitness woman who knows the real deal? Well, let me tell you about fitness and bodybuilding's dirty little secret, TrueNutrition.com. The people who know what's really going on skip the retail sales team and go right to the manufacturer at TrueNutrition.com. TrueNutrition.com cuts out the middleman and is not only a source, but is also the manufacturer of raw ingredients for bodybuilding and fitness. At TrueNutrition.com, you can customize your own proteins, carbs, and fats. Put what you want in the supplements and make sure the other guys aren't putting bunk ingredients and fillers in your products just to make a fast. You can even customize your own oatmeals. You can use the do-it-yourself customizer to design your own supplements the way you want them designed. Stop being a newbie and start making your own supplements. You can at TrueNutrition.com. For an extra 5 to 10% off your orders, use the code PROJECTBB in the discount code box at checkout. That's PROJECTBB and get 5 to 10% off at TrueNutrition.com. Evolution Peptides is Project Bodybuilding's first and most loyal peptide and research source. Use their new discount code PRO40 to save 40% off every order you make at checkout. Viagra, Cialis, anti-estrogens, CJC 1295 with DAC, Melanotan 2, GHRP6, IGF-1, and several more for all of your researching needs. Visit evolutionpeptides.com and use the code PRO40 to redeem your 40% discount. One more time, that's evolutionpeptides.com.
Do you train, still training 6 or 7 days a week, or have you scaled that back at all?
Right now, I'm kind of, I guess what you would say, kind of a little bit of a deload phase on the training. So I'm doing 2 on and 1 off.
Nice.
So it's kind of a split where I'm doing, today I did quads and calves. And, in quads and calves day, I'll throw in some adductor and glute work. And then I'll do, tomorrow's off. And then we'll have chest, shoulders, and tries. I kind of couple all 3 of those together. And then, I have a day that I specifically do hamstrings and calves on. Then I'll be off, and then I'll be back, and then quads and calves, constant rotation until we start prep. And when I start prep, it's going to be one of those things that, in the past, I had done 7 days a week, just nonstop. And I do feel like there's times that, I probably should have backed up and let myself have a break. But I'm one of those people that when I have a plan put in my head, that's exactly how I'm going to execute it, no matter how I feel or no matter what happens, it's going to happen this way. And I've kind of broken out of that mentality. Like, I feel like if I get to the point where I dread going to the gym, there's something wrong with that, and I need a break.
For sure.
So if I get to that point, that's when I may take 1 or 2 days in a row off and just kind of reset, regroup, and relax.
Have you ever taken an extended break, like a week?
Probably the most I've ever had off is back in 2012. think I had like 3 weeks in a row off, and that really wasn't at my will. I had a deviated septum surgery.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't want to screw that surgery up by like, messing anything up in there by getting it in training and straining too hard. So, and it drove me absolutely nuts. Like, I didn't know what to do with myself. I had a full-time job, but just coming home after work, and it was like, what this is wrong. Like, sit down and watch TV. What am I doing?
Hey, who instilled all that discipline in you? Is this like from your parents, or is this just natural?
I think a lot of it's due to my parents. Like, they're one of those people that definitely, if they say they're gonna do something, they're gonna get it done exactly how it's supposed to be done. So I attribute a lot of my discipline and work ethic to them.
When you were were you into the weights growing? Like, when did you start the teenage competing and all that? And like, did you pick it up just like 14, 15, or were you into sports and did you transfer to that? How did bodybuilding enter your life in the first place?
Probably a little different than most people. I wasn't one of those people that really just got inspired by any one particular person. When this happened over spring break, my freshman year of high school. So I was getting ready to turn 15 years old. Man, my parents had bought one of those old school total gyms, the kind that was like a bench on a pulley system. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they had bought one of those, and we had set it up in the living room. They kind of used it a little bit. I just got on it, was playing with it. We also had a set of dumbbells around the house. I don't even know how they got there. It was like 25 or 30 pound dumbbells. And I guess at the time, I probably didn't really even know what it was, but I experienced my first pump. And I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. I'm vascular, veiny. Like, this. It's one of those things that, like, it kind of made me go back, and I kept training. And obviously, I didn't see a lot of results off the total gym. But, my parents they picked up that I found something I like. So they had actually bought me, just one of those home workout benches that, has like a leg curl, leg extension, just kind of something cheap. I'd use that for probably 2 or 3 months. And just from using that alone, I was able to actually make really, I would say, fairly good progress for a teenager that really had no idea what he was doing, how to eat or anything. Like, my body responded really good to it. And, once I actually started seeing the results and saw that I was actually getting somewhere with this, I just kind of wanted to keep pursuing it. I think at 15 or 16, I did the Bodybuilding.com, like the amateur of the week. I didn't really have any hopes of winning that. I just sent my pictures in, and probably at the time was just looking for the $50 of the free supplements. And, I won it, and I was kind of shocked. And again, little stuff like that just kind of kept pushing me to go further and further.
Sounds like you need to contact Total Gym about getting on a commercial here. Got some money.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe I'll do that.
Hey, well, what would you say the one thing?
The guy that endorsed that, right?
I think it was Chuck. He did one of those for sure. Yeah.
What would you say the one thing that you would really point and accredit your fast rate of growth? I feel like every time you get up on stage, you're bigger and better and harder this time. Is there any one thing? Is this all genetic? Is this all what you were just born with? Or are you doing something that we're not doing?
Man, if you really look at like the years of how things has happened, a lot of people think that, I kind of came out of nowhere. But, if you put things on a timeline, it's probably been a nice, steady 10 to 12 pounds a year for, the past, I don't know, man, probably 10 years. Because, I started at 130, 135 pounds. That was at 14 years old. So I've probably put on, probably a steady 10 to 15 pounds a year. But I think a lot of it is just due to the fact that when I look back at myself and I'm like, man, you really wasn't training hard back then. Like, you really had no idea. You had no work ethic at all back then. So I think as I get older and more mature, I've learned to just take my body and my mind. Like, you'll see in some of my videos that we're getting ready for, I change a little different, like I've learned to push beyond failure. So like limits I've never been able to go to before. It's not a matter of whether I'm lifting 800 or 900 pounds. It's a matter of the intensity level that I'm using, whether it be rest pause or whatever I'm doing that day, to just keep going further and further with it. The nutrition aspect of it, I feel like has always been on point with me because I've never been that guy to cheat on my diet ever, even back to the early stages. Mm-hmm. So I just that's been kind of adjusted accordingly on whatever I need or don't need at the time. I feel like being able to go to the gym in the off season and train as if I'm 1 week out from a show and I really want it that bad, and being able to do that year round is what's been able to keep me growing all the time. I know a lot of guys, especially specifically guys that I see all the time in the gym, like when they're not getting ready for a show, I look at their workouts. I'm like, dude, you're training for an hour and a half, but I could have done your workout in 30 minutes. Like you're talking, or you're sitting around, you're texting, or you're not pushing yourself like you should be. The off season is when you're going to grow. Like if you're in the gym and that's when you should be moving your heaviest poundages and moving your maximum intensity.
For sure. You eat a lot of carbs generally. You were joking before that you're the opposite kind of sensitive. What's your carb intake look like in the sort of the height of the off season?
This year I've kept it somewhere in the range of typically between 600 and 800. We've had it a little bit lower at one point. I kind of did a little bit of dieting over the summer. I kind of feel like having a little bit of a mini diet sometimes in the off season kind of helps, because eventually eating so much and you get a little bit stagnated, like your body it's like it doesn't really want to grow anymore, and it kind of stops, and your appetite kind of slows down. Kind of like right after a show, how you always are able to kind of blow up and you grow really quickly.
Yeah. And
you still stay lean and you stay hard and you're able to up your food. We kind of did that just to kind of mimic that a little bit this off season. So I've got my carbs down to as low as 200. And honestly, I was just fine with it. But that's when I was playing with the actual training. So I'm one of those people, when I go to the gym, sometimes it can take me 2 hours just because of the volume that I'd use. We had actually scaled the volume back, into like a DC style training. That way I wasn't, burning out 2,000 calories during my workout. It was less calories. I'm still getting an efficient, strong, hard workout in, but I'm not actually, basically burning all the food out in the gym.
Gotcha.
Maybe essentially it made me like very insulin sensitive. So when we put carbs back in, just going to like say 300 grams and 400 grams and 500 grams, like I kept getting fuller and harder, in the off season. So
did you do it gradually? You did it gradually?
Oh yeah, we gradually pushed it up. I mean, it didn't take it long because my body seemed like as we went up, about 100 grams, it was almost like it just made my metabolism fire that much more. So it wasn't, 4 or 5 days. I'm on the scale and I'm like, I got to go up again.
Good problem to have, I guess.
Yeah, I want to switch.
It can be a catch-22.
Yeah, for sure. I imagine so.
Hey, I want to switch gears, Justin.
I've had conversations with Juan and do what?
Go ahead.
I was saying, I just wanted to switch gears just a little bit and get off of that and talk more about some of the business stuff. MD dropped you earlier this year. Were you surprised that they let you go?
Not really, to be honest. It was something that there was no hard feelings about it. A lot of people thought that it was a huge deal. Like people really blew this up into like something that it really wasn't. People are like bashing on MD and, getting mad at MD and saying they're, why would they do such a thing? I mean, people don't understand business is business and it is what it is. They have to look out for, what they think is their best financial decision. Just like if you were, the boss of a company and you felt like you needed to do a cutback, your budget's a little low, this guy's got to go, that guy's got to go. So listen, I didn't take it personal because I understand the business aspect of it. I mean, from a realistic standpoint, I told Blackman straight up that I wasn't going to do the Olympia. And would it have changed his decision to keep me on board had I done the Olympia? Maybe, maybe not. But, I'm one of those people that it wasn't like, unless he came to me with an astronomical number saying, hey, Justin, I'm going to pay you crazy money to get you on the Olympia stage. That was the only way he was going to be able to convince me to do it, because it really wasn't about the money for me at that point. It was a matter of what I felt like I needed to do that was in my career. So if he wanted to keep me on board, I would have gladly stayed on board and, done off-season prep videos or done whatever he needed me to do. But, I guess he felt like it wasn't essential. I mean, that's okay. And I don't have anything against that at all. I was just thankful for the opportunity that I was given for 2 years. Because as I stated before on the boards, there was nowhere in my contract that I had to compete at X amount of shows or at specific shows. There was no specific reason. People thought that I was dropped because I chose not to do the Olympia. What most people don't realize is my contract was supposed to expire June, I think it was like June 12th or something like that of this year. So technically I could have committed to do the Olympia and he still could have let me go anyways. So that really had nothing to do with it. I'm just wanting to clear the air on that because people got all butthurt about that, bashing on MD, but like really that, it was just a business decision.
Don't you find it a little weird though that you'd be one of his top guys and you're willing to work, that he would cut you and then keep on some guys that are just not flat out not as good as you?
I kind of question that, but so that's really not my decision to make on that. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I know a lot of the guys that he kept on board was definitely doing the Olympia, and I do think that's a good business decision. If the two biggest shows in the world aren't on the Olympia, so if your budget is X amount of dollars and you have to spend it, a certain way, I would definitely spend it on the guys that are competing now rather than the guys that are going to be competing next year. That's just how I look at it. I mean, I honestly don't even know who all he has on board, so I'm not really going to try to judge the issue on that.
Right.
I mean, if I found, if he had like a bunch of amateurs that he was paying on board and he dropped a pro, I'd kind of be like, well, what is he thinking? But, to my knowledge, they don't really have a whole lot of guys right now.
Justin, if 12, I was just going to ask, if 12 weeks out from the Arnold and MD wanted you back just for the prep for that, would you be game with that? That would be all cool.
I mean, yeah, definitely. I'll sit down and, Steve had wrote me an email, told me he would, the way I understood the email was he wanted to talk to me again, around the middle of December. And I'm definitely willing to sit down and have a conversation with him, see how he wants to put a game plan together and, just go from there.
Yeah. You think you'd be better off building you think you'd be better off building a brand on your own, or?
What exactly do you mean? Like,
just in the sense that you have freedom to do an interview like this versus when you're under contract with MD, tell you can't talk to anybody else.
I think it has its pros and cons with it. I mean, it's definitely sometimes can be a good thing to be able to be a free agent and do whatever you want. And then at other times, especially like sometimes when you're in prep, it does make things kind of easy to know that, they're going to come to you, they're going to do the filming for you, and it kind of takes the stress out of my hands. So it's kind of a 50-50.
Do you feel for the general bodybuilders that magazine contracts are still somewhat relevant, or is it really only for the select few, and that, how much longer do you think we'll even see them around?
As much as I really don't want to think about it, obviously as a bodybuilder and, a pro, would I like to be signed? Of course, that's always, because growing up, magazines are what I had when I was a kid. I always, watched the guys through the magazines, and I always enjoyed it, and I actually still get them. I still read them. Some of the stuff I don't really pay attention to. Others I do and I enjoy. It kind of depends on who wrote the article and what it's about, whether I'm actually going to read it or not.
Yeah.
That's just me being honest. But as far as, like, the future of it, I think they're going to have to be a little bit more innovative in certain ways, because with social media nowadays, I mean, it's like, rather than, finding out like what so-and-so is, how they're looking, than waiting, 3 or 4 months later in a magazine for it to actually get published, you can get online and, typically find out whatever you want right then and there. So I really don't know how that's going to affect them in the future. I mean, it's not a good thing for them, definitely, especially with like Periscope coming out. I know that's going to hurt companies like USA Muscle that, films the national shows, considering, people's going to be sitting there with their cell phones in the audience broadcasting the show rather than buying it and paying for it. So it's definitely not really a good thing for that industry. We'll just have to kind of see where it goes.
Yeah. Does any part of you wish you were around in, say, like the 90s and stuff when it was more contract based? Or do you like the ease of interacting with fans and masses? Like, there's a pros and cons, but is there any part of you that sort of wishes you were born a couple decades earlier?
Actually, it's a topic I've had with some of my friends, and it can kind of be a 50-50. It's some part of me, does wish it was easier that way, because I kind of like Dorian's mentality of how he's one of those guys that you never really seen, you never really heard anything about, and then he just kind of shows up out of nowhere and just
wins,
kicks everybody's ass, so to say. I kind of like that. I always kind of, even as an amateur, like I was one of those guys that stayed very, very quiet. I didn't say anything to anyone. I just kind of showed up. Got my badge number, got on stage, did my thing, and I left. Like, I was one of those guys, but at times it is kind of nice to be able to reach out to people and talk to, because, I'm friends with a lot of the pros. We can communicate Facebook, Instagram, text, call, whatever. I know that probably wasn't a thing that was readily available in the 90s, but I said it does have its perks and cons, of being able to, get in touch with people much more easily and reach out to fans easier, like especially with, for example, this call right now, I don't know how many people's going to hear this, but, I thank everyone for tuning in and listening to me. It gives me a chance to actually reach out to people. But on the flip side, you get a lot of negativity and stuff that people, back in the 90s didn't have to deal with. People didn't people didn't go to expos to trash talk pros and stuff. Now they just do it all the time on their Instagram, and I'm sure most pros has a blocked list that's 2,000 or 3,000 people sometimes.
Yeah,
I know typically mine goes up 2 or 3 a day.
Really? That much, huh?
If I see something, man, like I try to stay as positive as I can in my life. If somebody's got something negative to say, if somebody wants to say something negative, like on your page about me or somebody else's page about me, you have all the freedom to do so. But if you're going to come on my page and, say something bad that's pertaining to me, my company, my family, my friends, whatever, it's like, you're gone. Bye. Like, I don't have time for that.
Yeah, that makes sense. You earlier today when I was talking to you, said you were kind of joking that you're not really big on the technology. Do you have to sort of force yourself to get on there and interact, or do you have someone that sort of forces you or helps you with it, or how do you approach it, being someone that's not sort of up to date on everything?
No, Instagram and Facebook, like I've always been, very up to date on those. Like, nobody forces me to do anything. I post what I want to post when I want to post it, and I kind of go from there. But stuff like with Skype, I've never used Skype before because I've never had a reason to.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people do it, like especially international, and I guess that way you can call and see each other and stuff. But like, I've never been one of those guys. Like, I've never been overseas for long periods of time or anything like that. So I've never really needed Skype. And then the new thing is Periscope, and I guess I'm going to have to. You could say I'm going to have to force myself to learn how to use it because I'm not really interested in learning how, but I see it's one of the big things, and I literally know absolutely nothing about it. I haven't even looked into it. But
you see the value in it.
A lot of guys are doing it, and there's do what?
Yeah, I said you see the value in it, so you realize it's something you're probably going to have to get on board with, right?
I mean, it might be something I actually enjoy doing, so something I'll look into in the future. I mean, if I don't enjoy doing it, I mean, there's nothing that tells me that I have to do it or anything. So if I think it's a waste of time, like, I'm just not going to do it. I mean, I'm very happy and content. Like, I think, Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, we got enough social media platforms. I don't think we need, 20 more.
Amen. Amen, brother.
Yeah, for sure.
There's I feel like you can literally reach out to anyone almost anywhere in the world that has this. So, I mean, I don't know why we have to keep reinventing the wheel on that.
Yeah, and half of them are connected anyways, Facebook, Instagram, all that. That just doesn't make any sense.
It's all the same thing, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Well, listen, man, Taylor, do you have any other any tidbits we got to hit Justin with? Because we don't know.
No, I'm pretty sure he's
we'll
sitting
have him back again.
He's probably just sitting in his car waiting to eat or something right now.
I was going to say, this guy's got to get up at 3:05, and he's only got 2 months to do it. So
I ripped through all my questions there.
Yeah, so did I. Hey, Justin, by all means, tell everybody where they can reach you so they can troll you on the internet, and
you can get the fan list up a little bit.
Let's get the van. That's right. And obviously, I want to give you a chance to plug Evogen and any other sponsors you have.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening, here at Project Bodybuilding. And then if they want to reach out to me, watch my progress, I'm always posting on Instagram. I have my Facebook personal page, but I also got my fan page where you're going to see a lot of my new videos coming out. We're actually plotting out how we're going to, basically we're going to try to film like one video a week leading into the Arnold, similar to like we did last year, but these videos are going to be a lot different this year. So stay tuned for that. And then, I thank Hani with Evogen and, the whole Evogen team for taking care of me. Anything I've always needed, they've always been there for me. All my training partners, everyone out there, they know who it is. And then, Tim Rice has been helping me out. I actually have a T-shirt line out, Jack Creation. We just got a new design out. So if you guys want to go check that out, it's really cool. The T-shirts are very comfortable. It's a different style, kind of a stretchy cotton material. So if you guys want to go check that out, it's Last One Standing Clothing. If you can buy them from Tim or catch me at expos or shows. You can buy them directly from me. I still use Power Belly lifting gear with knee sleeves and knee wraps. They're great quality stuff. If you guys want to go check those out, for anyone out there that's squatting 600 or 700 pounds, it'll save your knees later in life. So go check that out. But other than that, that's about it. Just want to thank everyone for tuning in and listening to me. This is my first interview since, quote unquote, leaving MD, as everybody calls it.
For sure.
And now that you're not with MD anymore, you have an open invitation if you get the urge to post on a good forum, the Project Bodybuilding forum. We'd love to have you down there anytime.
We're not full of crazy. It's not MD. That's all I'll say. It's very different.
There's no douches.
At least far fewer.
Yeah, you can't get rid of all of them, right?
No,
you can't. But thanks again for coming on, Justin.
Thanks, man.
All right, man. No problem. Y'all have a good evening.
See you, man.
You too.